Welcome to Pitchside, the Mayo News Sports Weekly. Now before we start, a bit of self-promotion. If you want the best in sports coverage, pick up the Mayo News every Tuesday morning or click on our website, mayonews.ie. Now, what are we going to be talking about today? The biggest stories in sport, really. The Skorts short controversy in Camogie, communication in general in sport. We'll talk also about Castlebar Celtic's big weekend. They have a big weekend, 3 huge games. And we'll talk about last week's Connacht final. And I'm joined by my colleague Oisín Bradley. And Oisín, let's dive straight into it. The Skorts short controversy that has captivated the nation about Camogie, about the players, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big deal, in fairness. It's sort of broken outside of the sporting sphere. It's broken into the mainstream. It's been a massive talking point, and with good reason. I mean, we're not the best people to speak about it as two men. It doesn't really affect us. We're not going to be wearing Skorts anytime soon, I don't think. Yeah. But it's been a massive issue, and I don't see why the people in the Camogie Congress have been the ones who've been able to make the decision. I know that's how democracy works in the GA and the LGFA and the Camogie Association, that board members tend to make these sort of rules, but ultimately it doesn't really seem to affect them. It affects the players. They should be the ones making the decision, and hopefully at this special Congress that's coming up in a few weeks' time, this issue could potentially be resolved. Yeah,
it's going to come to a head tomorrow at the Munster final as well. Cork and Waterford, whether they wear Skorts or shorts, I think they're going to wear shorts, and they're going to really put it up to the Camogie Association. But one point that people seem to miss, a lot of people seem to miss, is that this has actually nothing to do with the GAA. It's absolutely nothing to do with the GAA. It's the Camogie Association, and I think we sometimes forget that point, and it has been forgotten in the wider scheme of things. But hopefully it'll be resolved at Special Congress on the 22nd, I think.
Yeah, hopefully it gets resolved. Like you were saying, the GAA, the LGFA and the Camogie Association all come under different things. Perhaps at some stage, again, this is a topic for another day, but they can all come under one umbrella, and it'll take away all these sorts of issues, like as you see around pitches and schedule and so on and so forth. But again, that's a topic for...
Well, it's a good segue, because one of our bugbears here, and it's massive. We pride ourselves on our coverage of all sports, and particularly in the last year, we've really concentrated on ladies football in the club championship here. We've covered all club championship games. Yet the communication from National LGFA and Connacht LGFA in particular, those two, Mayo LGFA, in fairness, are doing their best. But the communication to the media, it's brutal. And it annoys me when I hear people talk about the lack of coverage of female sport. Every other sport communicates with us, but LGFA don't.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a bugbear, in fairness. I was writing a preview the last day for Mayo and Galway. They're playing in Gym Stadium on Saturday in the round 2 fixture in the LGFA championships. And I was trying to write an article and I had no idea where it was on, when it was on. And this was on Monday, 5 days out from one of the biggest games of the season.
Yeah, and it turns out, and no wonder you're confused, because it's Sunday, actually, the game.
Is it Sunday? See, I'm still confused.
That's it. Yeah, nobody, where did we get the information? Every other sport, I'm sure our viewers probably you're not au fait with how we work, but every other sport communicates with us. For example, in this office, we were invited to the launch of the Leinster LGFA Championship. We were invited to the launch of the Munster LGFA Championship. Now, the Connacht LGFA Championship launch took place 11 miles over the road in Castlebar, and nobody from the Mayo media was invited. So how do you promote ladies football if you don't invite the media to a launch?
This is not a swipe at anyone. This
Absolutely.
Is like, I personally would love to be promoting all sports, LGFA, Camogie, whatever it may be. And I think that's the best way to get eyeballs on this. Attendances aren't there for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, how are you meant to plan your weekend and plan to go and watch the Mayo ladies or the Galway ladies if you're fans of either of those teams? If you don't know what day they're playing.
Absolutely.
I just think that a lot of work has to be done in that regard. Yeah. And again, we'd love to be able to promote it as much as we could. Because again, there's a lot of talk of media representation of women's sport. Yeah. And perhaps some of that does have weight to a degree. But how are we meant to cover it if we don't even know what it's on?
And turning to soccer, if you talk about confusion over what game to attend, the Castlebar Celtic supporters this weekend, they have 3 big games to go to. They have the Under-18 Connacht Cup final. They have the FAI, first round of the FAI Cup down in Wexford on Sunday. And they have their B team is playing in the Connacht's Shield final in Galway. Like 3 momentous games.
Yeah, it's just a sign of how far they've come and how strong they've become in Mayo soccer. again, it's a good problem to have. You're fighting on so many fronts that you have to choose what finals or what big games to go to. Now, I wish a lot of clubs I was involved in had that problem.
Same as that.
But listen, it's a great sign. It's a great indication of how well they're going this season, how well they've been going in the last while. They've been able to build up this head of steam and fight in so many fronts. Now, they might be travelling a bit light to down south for their FAI Cup game. But listen, this still give them any chance of making it through that one.
It should be great. And now let's talk about last weekend, Mayo and Galway. What a game! What a spectacle! Mayo probably should have won it, didn't win it. What were your thoughts? Was it your first? It was your first Connacht final in the press box.
Yeah, it was definitely. It was the first Connacht final in the press box. My first Connacht final overall. Listen, I was amazed by the sense of occasion. Crowds from Galway, from Mayo, all just teaming into McHale Park. Went really, really well up until the last 10 minutes for Mayo. From there, listen, I would be hoping the players could step up in those clutch moments, but a series of wides, a goalkeeping error, it all just kind of fell apart a bit, and you kind of wonder what might have been. And in those clutch moments, to be honest, Mayo didn't step up.
And you did the interview of Kevin McStay afterwards, and one of the big things that came out of that interview that stuck out to me was how he said Paddy Durcan was in the squad, one of the finest footballers in Ireland, but that he wasn't fit to play. Yet a guy like Owen O'Donoghue was raring to go, and he didn't make the squad. So we had we were missing a substitute.
You were pretty much, Listen, Kevin also said in the post-match interview that he was there to be around the team, and as a captain, he was there to lead in the dressing room and guide them through the weekend, I think was his quote.
Yeah.
But you can guide a team through the weekend. You can have that influence and that voice in the dressing room without having your O'Neill shorts on you and your boots on you.
Yeah.
You don't that place was taken up that could have been given to someone else, and it's something that you'd want to look at in future. That if a player of that importance is injured, maybe in hindsight, I'd say Kevin probably wouldn't have made that decision, to be honest.
Yeah, it's learnings, I guess. And one of the teams that are always on about learnings are Leinster Rugby.
Yeah.
And a friend of the Mayo News, Caelan, Doris, the captain of the team, misses out on the lines through an injury. But it was very interesting during the week how some people were comparing Mayo and Leinster and mentioning the word bottlers. Now, in my view, Mayo are far from that. But Leinster had a penalty, 2 penalties in the last 5 minutes to draw the game and bring it to extra time, and they kicked the corner. It was a funny decision.
Yeah, it was a strange decision to kick into touch. Again, you look for your big players to step up in those clutch moments. And we talked earlier about Mayo in the similar situation. And again, if you look at in my opinion, if you look at the last 10, 15 years, Leinster Rugby have been in far more positions where they could have hit a foot in the throat of someone and had the chance to take those big moments and just didn't.
It's like Mayo, a pint down in the All-Ireland final, 2 minutes left, have a 14-yard free and go for a goal instead of taking a pint. It was a bit mad.
Yes, that's the sort of decisions that you'd be hoping that come down the All-Ireland series. Now, if those sorts of moments come to the fore, then
we'll
Mayo
take the points.
Keep a clear head. Take the points, take the points and put them on the board.
So, guys, thanks for being with us. That's this week's Pitchside, the Sports Weekly from the Mayo News. Remember, pick up the paper on Tuesday mornings and click onto our website, mayonews.ie, at all times, 24/7.